How are you? How are you, Eileen? How are you, John? You well?
We are fabulous. Well, I'm sorry, speaking Friday, it was very cheeky of me. I am I'm fabulous. Had a great time at conference. Back to the day job this week. Back to the usual working with clients and all of that kind of good stuff. It's been quite weird being back. Freshly energized from seeing everyone. It always does that with a conference. You come back really, really energized and full of sort of inspiration from getting so many PMO people in one place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How about you, Eileen? I know you've been busy as well since, haven't
Well,
you?
I have, but yesterday felt like Friday, so today's a bit of a strange day. In terms of it's a non-day because Friday was yesterday, but tomorrow's Saturday, so we're just having a bit. What's that word? Discombobulated today.
Yeah, but you've been doing some PMO stuff, haven't you? Doing some educating and things this week.
I have just talking to some clients about they're going through a big restructure of their PMO, which has been really interesting, and they've invited essentially all of the P3M community to learn about PMO, and it was really interesting. We had one delegate who said, "But what do the PMO actually do all day?" Which is an interesting kind of story. It just shows that there's still an awful lot of people out there, even in the P3M community, generally don't have a full understanding about what we do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, it's like I said, we've had a great week last week. We were in what I call the PMO Disney World bubble, because that's what it feels like to us. We're kind of like so concentrated on what's going on that you kind of forget about the outside world. So it's always really interesting to read the news and stuff when you're like on the journey back home. It's like, oh, what's been happening in the real world? It was great, and there's been a lot of photos and whatnot. But let's get into it. What actually has been going on? So the headline is that the PMO cushions actually stole the show.
I said this, did I not say this? I said this was going to be the case. The PMO cushions are there for the photographs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we had the conference, and we thought for today's session we should focus on that. Just first of all, though, we launched the latest Inside PMO report at the conference. It is available on the website already, and if you remember, you get access to that straight away. It's part, as long as you're logged in, you'll be able to get hold of it. We obviously, Eileen did a great session presenting on that report as well. Eileen, I'm going to put you on the spot. What was the I suppose the takeaways, top takeaways from that particular session and also the report in your opinion?
So I think there's a couple of things. Firstly, in terms of typically project controls has a higher entry point than PMO. Which I don't think is going to change going forward. So if you're coming into kind of absolutely kind of brand new, you go into PMO rather than into controls. I think that the other aspect was, although controls has kind of grown and definitely got senior members in the organisation, the PMO has grown up and out. And may well over the next few years, because the third thing I would say is AI is going to have such a massive impact. And it was funny, I was watching the news last night, not the news, the television last night, and there was an advert in a company offering to come and help you kind of embed AI in your organisation. And that just kind of shows where AI is. And as we go forward, I think there's going to be more and more overlap between PMO and project controls because of some of the roles that AI will kind of help to kind of automate.
Yeah. I think it's also just really good for us to be able to just make that distinction about, well, what is PMO? What is project controls? I mean, for a lot of people that have been in this space for a number of years, it's actually really good just to get that clarification. And for me, what is really interesting is that the project controls community find it equally as difficult to truly define it very well, and also to make themselves understood within their organizations. So, I think there's a load of overlaps, but have a look at the report. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff in there, and we'll be doing another more publicly promoting that Inside PMO report in September. It's already on the events page if you want to know more about that. So one of the other things that we like to do at the conference is obviously use it as a point to be able to interact with each other, not just between the delegates and House of PMO, but actually within being able to network really well and strike up conversations and stuff. And we had this area at a conference, which again, it brings people together, gets a pen in their hand and then contributing, but it also helps us to get conversations going and meet new people and all that kind of stuff. And of course, all the stuff that is on the boards, it helps us in order to be able to bring another event to you. And we've also got one of those scheduled in a few weeks around the PMO services one. All of these things we'll be sharing, because again, these are just the kind of interesting little nuances, I suppose, around PMO that we, what do other people think, what do other people, are doing. So we'll be sharing some of that kind of stuff. But again, really good to see the engagement, and really good to see so many different aspects coming out. Certainly ones where we talked about, yes, there was PMO services, about what's hot, in other words, which services your organisation really utilise and value, and the ones perhaps that they don't. But interestingly, there was also a great question that didn't get as many responses, and this is what's really interesting with some of these boards. It's trying to find it, so they're not that difficult to fill in, but equally you want to be able to get some good stuff out of it. So I think there's a really great piece there about, if you could put in a PMO service, i.e. from your perspective, what you think your organization needs, but for some reason you can't, why not? So I think there's a lot of stuff to unpick there, and again, we'll be running those sessions in the coming weeks as well. So some great stuff that allow us to move the conversation on, which is what it's all about. So yes, here we go. PMO people like a bit of fun and ridiculousness. The policeman's hat went down well. PMO police, and the
John
cushions.
knows all about that, don't you, John?
Absolutely.
So and you'll see, obviously, Eileen and I, we have a trademark thing for these photo booths. So there we were in 2016 doing the exact same thing as a PMI PMO symposium. But it was good to see, just having a little bit of silliness. But like I think it was Mo that said in the comments, we gave out some little trophies for people as well that embraced the silliness. And of course, these great things are good back on your wall back in the project office, which is
there was a number of trophies and medals this year that I think went down very well. So we're going to certainly have to look into that for our 10th anniversary next year.
Well, yes, and that's the thing. It will be the 10th anniversary. That will be the 10th conference that we've done. So, of course, we're going to be trying to make that very special. But yeah, give us a bit of a break first. I just can't think anymore at the minute. I need to step back from it. But yeah, so that was great. So, opening and closing keynotes. We went for something slightly different this year, which was getting into. I've always wanted a opening session that can show that people that have worked in PMO can go to their highest levels within organizations. And no, that doesn't mean that it can be for everyone. But what is interesting, like they always say, it's not the end goal that's the interesting thing, it's the journey. And actually listening to Mary Beth Oskin that came over from Australia certainly gave us that in terms of the journey from working from a failed pop star office temp right up to a CEO. So it's that kind of like, not so much getting into the technicalities of PMO. I mean, we've had that for a few years on an opening for the conference, and I thought actually it's quite nice to be kicking off that conference with something a bit more personal, a bit more motivational, I think, which is what went down really well. Plus Mary Beth is also here on a book launch as well, which again, everybody in the room got a copy of that book, which is about Not Another Digital Transformation. Hands up, I've not read it all yet, but we will be sharing some of the insights there, and it is really, really interesting. It's a completely different way of thinking about things. So I'm really interested in diving more into that. And then you can see there, Kate Atkins actually closed the conference with that popular subject, imposter syndrome. So it's almost like you go throughout that entire day, listening to lots of stuff, learning lots of stuff, talking to lots of people, but still, in a lot of us, me included, you have this thing where you never think you're good enough, or all of that kind of stuff. One thing I've not asked, Eileen, John, have you had imposter syndrome? I can't imagine you have. Have you?
all the time.
Really?
Oh, yeah, constantly.
Well, we knew last year. Last year was the first year that I actually felt like a conference speaker after eons of years of actually kind of doing sessions. Last year was the first time I actually felt like a conference speaker. So how many years have I been doing conference talks?
Yeah. How about you, John? Because I mean, I don't know about, I mean, I know you both of you very well, and I just think that you two, you know, extrovert out there, with bags of confidence, all of that. And then there's me hiding behind you know, push you two to the front. But hence the reason why you'll not see me talking at a conference. But John, you as well?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. Every time I go into a new client, every time you're talking to a new client, every time you're going up on stage, certainly when it's a new topic that I'm talking about that I haven't presented on before, and you sort of have the face and demeanor of calm and confidence, but sort of inside you, there's that little voice in your head going, who am I to talk to these people about their environment? They've all done this for years. They've all done it. They all know their environment far better than I do. They know their world far better than I do. What right do I have to be standing up in front of people? It's a constant thing all the time.
Yeah. Really interesting. I mean, Orion has put in the chat, but actually it's not called an imposter syndrome. It's called imposter phenomena. You know, can you remember that old Muppets stuff? Phenomena. It is. It's not a syndrome because it's not an illness. It's, you know, it's not a mental illness. It's phenomena. But yeah, so some really great stuff. And of course, we sharing it not only with the people that were there in the conference, but over time we'd rip it out into members' library as well. So if you couldn't make it, you will eventually be able to see some of these, which again, as Annette's just said, something really motivational. I think sometimes we just need to make sure that we do concentrate a little bit more on some of the things that give us the cherry on top of the cake. You know, we can learn all the technical stuff and the skills and all that kind of thing, but we know that we can make a difference if we concentrate on some of these little pieces about the, you know, the kind of more behavioral, personable sides to us. So yeah, it was good.